Hi there, this is Jen, and thanks so much for stopping by today. I hope your day is going fantastic. Today I'm going to be creating a card using some Fairy Hugs stamps and a stencil. And I'm creating a 5 3/4 by 5 3/4 card, and so I'm going to take a piece of Bristol cardstock and cut it down to 5 1/2 by 5 1/2. And that is so that I can fit it in a 6 by 6 envelope really easily. The stencil I'm using is called Pebble Beach, and I'm going to go ahead and start out using these Lavinia inks. These are Lavinia Elements, and I'm going to use Graphite as my first color. I started out using my blending brush and then realized that it was just too light, and so I got my ink dauber out, and that gave me the darker color that I was going for. And so I'm just going to go around the edges and leave a white space in the middle. And then once I have that, I'm just going to spritz that with a little bit of water, and then take a paper towel and mop up that water and have those cool distress marks on it. And then I'm going to take the color Truffle, and I'm going to go right over that graphite color that I did previously. I think I called this a dauber. This is actually one of the ink blending tools. I cannot even remember what the name of those are. I've been using the blending brushes for so long. But I think you know by looking at it what that is. And I'm again going to leave that space in the middle white, and then spritz that again and mop up that water with the paper towel. And then I'm going to start filling in that middle space, and so I'm going to take the Mermaid color. These are super juicy inks. I don't use them super often, but they are just, there's a lot of ink, and it comes out really easily. And I just love this combination of the brown and kind of the teal color. It's one of my favorite color combinations. It's just really beautiful. So once I have done the middle and I've spritzed that with water and mopped that up, I am taking the stencil, and again, this is called Pebble Beach, and I am using the color Blue Lagoon through that stencil onto my background. And I want that mainly around the edges, and there's just a slight bit in the middle. And then I'm going to spritz it again with water and mop that up with my paper towel. And now I'm going to go ahead and start some stamping. So I'm using my Misty. I have prepped my paper with a embossing bag, since I will be I will be covering it with clear embossing powder, so it's not horribly detrimental that a stamping bag is used, or an anti-static bag, just because it's clear. So it's if it gets anywhere, you're not really going to be able to see it. At any rate, I am using the Meadow Grass stamp, and I have used the color, I think it's called Chianti. Chianti? I don't know how to say that. Anyhow, it's a Versafine Clair, which is a pigment ink, and so I went ahead and stamped that on the corner, and then I'm taking some clear embossing powder and went ahead and covered that ink, and then used my heat tool to melt the embossing powder. And then I'm going to take the Meadow Grass stamp again and put it in the upper corner, just right above the other stamp. And I'm going to follow the same process, heat set that with the clear embossing powder. And then next I'm going to grab the stamp set called Fantasy Flowers, and I'm going to be using 2 of the dandelions. I believe these are dandelions. So I'm going to take the small one and the shorter one and place them next to each other, and again prep my background with my anti-static bag. And this time I'm using the Warm Breeze in the Versafine Clair, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp that a few times so that you can see it, and then cover that with some clear embossing powder. And then I'm going to take a few of the little fairies from the Condo Dwellers 2 stamp set, and I'm just going to place them kind of hanging out in different areas of this little magical forest. And I am going to stamp these ones up with some Versafine Clair in Nocturne. I don't think I was sure what I was going to do, because I do end up covering these images with some embossing powder. So although I did stamp them in black, they could have been in any color. I am using some Wow Metallic Sparkle embossing powder. I was looking for a sparkly embossing powder, and I found this, and I think I forgot that I had it actually. It's really pretty though. So this is going to be heat set from the back to ensure that none of the sparkly flies away. And I think it also looks better when you heat it from the back. I don't know if you'll be able to tell on this video, but I do add some more of that embossing powder. So I spritz this with water, and then I'm just going to spread that sparkly embossing powder all over the place. And I do end up heating it from the front after it's set with the powder from heating from the back. And it does change the color to a little bit more dull. And so it just looks better, I think, heating it from the back, and it keeps all of that pretty sparkle in place. And so again, I just spritz that with water, and the embossing powder is sticking to the water, and then I'm just heat setting it the same as I would if I had used an embossing ink. And I think it adds some pretty sparkle around different areas of the card, kind of in a organic manner. And then I'm going to finish off the coloring on the panel by using some of the pine ink, and I'm just putting that on the top and the bottom, kind of pushing it into that blue centerpiece a little bit. And then I will spritz that with water again and mop that up with a paper towel. And then I'm going to add my sentiment, which is called Delightful is the name of the sentiment set. And it says, have a fairy delightful day, which I think goes perfectly with that. And then for my card base, I am using a piece of accent opaque white cardstock, and I'm using the color olive, and I'm taking my blending tool and just going around the edges because that's the only portion that's going to show. And although I have lots of colored cardstock, which I rarely use, I find that I really love using ink to color a background piece like this, just because it matches so well with what you're already doing, especially if it's the same brand of ink. And so I think I need to stop buying colored cardstock. But I'm going to go ahead. I did use some tape runner on that, and then use some liquid glue as well, just because I wanted to make sure that it was adhered very well. And then to finish it off, I used some liquid pearls in the color Jupiter, which I think gives it a nice kind of shininess to some of those little pieces from the Meadow Grass. And that will finish off my card for today. I hope you enjoyed. If you did like it or find it informative, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. As always, I thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to spend with me, and I hope to see you soon.